Hey everybody, Danny J here for Capes Not Included. Just wanted to jump on real quick. This is like one of the unofficial shows we do. But I was just able to go see Dark Phoenix, the last Fox edition of the X-Men franchise. It's been getting a lot of critic bashing, I should say, if anything else, that they are not doing well with the Dark Phoenix saga, that type of thing. I've even seen somewhere where they believe the X-Men animated series is the best edition of the Dark Phoenix saga that's been visually seen. But I went and saw Dark Phoenix. And be perfectly honest, I was like, well, they were saying it was as bad as the last edition of the Fantastic Four, which anybody out there will tell you that was a very, very bad movie. It was a rushed scenario to keep the property or to get one last ditch effort off the property before it reverts back to its other owners. This kind of in the same scenario with Fox, this being the last Fox X-Men movie, now that the Disney merger has gone through. And Disney is saying that they're probably not going to have an X-Men franchise for the next 5 or 10 years. So it's a long time that we're going to see any kind of X-Men property coming into the MCU. But going to see this movie, I went and saw it. And as always, I try and keep an open mind to say, well, maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad, indifferent. Okay. This was a good movie. It really was a good movie. It was a movie that was solid. It didn't really have any kind of plot points or anything like that. The acting was on. I think certain actors acted better than others, and you're going to get that really in any movie. I really was not crazy about the girl who played Jean Grey. She is a British actress, and was very, what I got out of it, she was forcing her American accent. You can kind of tell, like it wasn't second nature to her, like some other British actors can do. But the storyline itself was straightforward. All right, there was an alien race. Spoilers. Okay, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, don't listen. But in spoilers, they're the antagonists of this film. Let me put it that way. You didn't really know who they were. Okay, so that was probably a problem with the movie itself. One thing I can say about this, and once again, this is a spoiler, is that the movie almost was a readaptation or almost a reboot of X-Men Last Stand, in a sense. Taking out the Wolverine Jean Grey love story. This was pretty much what they were trying to do, because they kind of were doing Dark Phoenix with that, and it got really like left field with all the other stuff that was going on. This, concentrating on that, you saw a lot of very, very similar cinematography from Last Stand to this. So it may have been getting jeers for that, perhaps, I'm assuming. I recognized it right away. My wife was with me. She recognized it right away. So it was one of those things where you did see this before. You saw it again. So with that being said, that could potentially be some of the outcry from the critics, in a sense. Superhero movies are not received well by critics anyway. So I generally don't go by critics. Rotten Tomatoes is an algorithm, so I try not to go by that as well. It's kind of skewed, so you can go with it within reason, but you can't hold it verbatim. Okay, but I will tell you this: the movie was a solid movie. It was actually enjoyable. I didn't have a problem with it really at all. I accepted it for what it was, and I think that's what you need to do, is accept it for what it was. You had an ending. You had a beginning, a middle, and an end, which is sometimes what's lacking in some movies. Knowing that this was the last of the Fox franchise, they just tied it up. There was no end credit scene or anything like that. It was just, the movie ends, we get this, boom, we're done. Now, was it a rushed version of the Phoenix Saga? Yes. Okay, it was. Did it seem rushed in the movie? No, unless you're trying to hold it verbatim to the comic. And I will tell everybody out there, you are not going to get a comic rendition in movie form. You're not going to. It's impossible. There are things that are written in comic book form that just cannot translate to film because of reality. Okay? So you have to also remember that they have a different time frame in comics that they do in movies. What might take 5 years in comics has to be summed up in an hour and a half or 2 hours in a movie. So understand there has to be editing. There has to be things that are cut. We have to get to the point. That type of thing. And they did that with this movie, okay? It wasn't poorly edited. One thing I see, practical effects were pretty good. Some of the effects were not as good. I'm going to personally say I didn't like the effects used for Storm. Her effects, if you compare them, because she had a lot of lightning, if you compare them to Thor in Thor Ragnarok, it's night and day, okay? So consider that as well. Like, some of the effects were like, okay. But the practical effects were pretty good. Some of the concepts that they did, like, for example, based on some of the things that Magneto was able to do, you're like, oh, that was really cool. So the concept of it was there. And they executed it about as well as they're going to do. But my thing for you would be, if I was going to give it out of 5, I'd give it 3 out of 5, honestly. It was an enjoyable movie. You're going to go in there, you're going to get a beginning, a middle, and an end. You're going to like the movie. Okay. Every movie has something that somebody doesn't like about it, but it was not terrible. I think box office starts, let's face it, before the movie was released, it was getting bad critical acclaim. So that's going to stop people from going to see it in the movie. So once again, you have to be your own person. Don't go by the critics. You be the critic. That's what we are. On Capes Not Included, we try and watch it for what it is and give you an honest rendition of it. And that's what I'm telling you here. So go see it. Don't go see it in IMAX. Don't go see it in 3D or anything like that. Like I said, it's a 3 out of 5 movie. So I wouldn't say spend a ton of money on going to see this. In my area, we have retro AMCs, which are AMCs that have not been updated. So you get to see the movie for cheaper. If you can find a movie theater like that, that's what I would recommend. Otherwise, wait for it to come on home video. You could do that as well. What's going to happen? Fox is sold, so like, who cares? At this point. But I think you're going to like it. Okay, I think it's going to be an okay movie for you, and I don't think it's anywhere really near as bad as the critics were making it out to be. So with that being said, I'm just going to check out. I just want to jump on and make sure you guys heard this, because I just saw it yesterday, and I think the critics are doing it really an injustice. I don't think it's a blockbuster at all. I think it really, to be honest with you, I think it was on par with Captain Marvel in the MCU, which they made out to be like it was going to be this huge blockbuster, and it wasn't. And Captain Marvel, left me hanging based on what the critics were saying, based on the hype for it, and I went in there and I got a movie that was a lot less lackluster than what I was expecting. So with this, going into it with very low expectations, I was pleasantly surprised, and I think you will be too. So check us out here on DJB Productions Network. Hit the subscribe button down below. I really appreciate if you would do that. Hit the notification bell if you want to catch up on all the different videos here. We have so many shows on this channel that are for different genres and stuff like that, so there's something for everybody. Share it. Love it. Check it out. I'll probably put this on Facebook as well. But for LeGrand Jackson, who's obviously not in this video, for Matt Sunner, my name is Danny J. Until next time, keep your cape in the wind and your nose to the stars. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.